Distinguished guests and dignitaries, ladies and gentlemen, namaskar and a very good afternoon to all of you. Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the Center for Development of Telematics, Cdot, the premier telecom R&D center of the Department of Telecommunications, Ministry of Communications, Government of India, we welcome you to this webinar that has been organized to mark the observance of the World Telecommunication and Information Society Day that is celebrated every year on 17th May. 17th May also marks the anniversary of the signing of the first International Telegraph Convention and the creation of the International Telecommunication Union, popularly known as the ITU. The purpose of World Telecommunication and Information Society Day, WTISD, is to help raise awareness of the possibilities that the use of the internet and other information and communication technologies, ICT, can bring to societies and economies, as well as of ways to bridge the digital divide. As per statement from Mr. Hulin Zhao, Secretary General ITU, equitable access to digital technologies is not just a moral responsibility. It is essential for global prosperity and sustainability. The theme of WTISD 2022 is Digital Technologies for Older Persons and Healthy Aging, and will focus on the important role of telecommunications and ICTs in supporting people to stay healthy, connected, and independent, physically, emotionally, and financially, and the overall sustainability of economic and health systems. The aging of the global population will be the defining demographic trend of the 21st century. Yet, our societies struggle to see the opportunities that this trend can unfold. Telecom and ICTs assume wider significance in addressing the concerns emanating from these demographic trends. Technology has indeed been an enabler to make people and communities adapt to these drastic changes in an effective and efficacious manner. Machine-to-machine communications, M2m, and the Internet of Things, IoT, are exclusively targeted at making our lives easier, comfortable, safe, and secure with novel technological innovations. Today's webinar is focused on the role of Center of Innovation for IoT M2m in evolving an indigenous M2m IoT ecosystem with contribution from relevant stakeholders and invites industry, startups, academia, R&D, and broader telecom fraternity to come forward, collaborate, and contribute towards the digital transformation with technological innovations. It further underscores the critical role of M2M IoT in creating a digital technology landscape for smart cities, smart living, and a healthy and sustainable environment for all, including the older persons and specially abled persons. We would have the privilege of the gracious presence of Shri Nizamul Haq, Member Services, Digital Communications Commission, Government of India, and Shri K. Tiwari, Member Technology, Digital Communications Commission, Government of India, who shall be joining us shortly. We extend a very warm and hearty welcome to all our distinguished guests and dignitaries. We are also honored to have various experts and veterans amidst us on this very momentous occasion who shall be sharing their enriching experiences and wide knowledge on several contemporary themes related to the intriguing world of M2M and IoT, and the role of Center of Innovation in addressing the underlying issues and challenges. We once again extend a very warm and hearty welcome to all our distinguished guests and dignitaries. Ladies and gentlemen, may I now request Dr. Rajkumar Upadhyay, Executive Director Cdot, for the welcome address. Sir, we are not able to hear you. Sir, can you please start your address again? We apologize for the inconvenience. Dr. Rajkumar Upadhyay, Executive Director Cdot, will soon deliver his welcome address. He's connecting again. We apologize for the inconvenience and request the participants to wait for a short while. We will resume the welcome address by Dr. Rajkumar Upadhyay, Executive Director Cdot.
Hello. Good evening, everyone. I think there is some issue with the connection of ETR. So I will take the stage till he's able to join back again. So basically, we would like to introduce you to the Center of Innovation which Cdot is launching. And this will benefit the industry as well as service providers, solution providers, to make their solutions standards compliant, national standards compliant. Our national standards on M2M are derived from the 1M2m standards. So I will just take you through Cdot's journey on 1M2m. Can you see my screen?
Yeah, ma'am, the screen is visible to us.
Okay. So basically, this is the Cdot Center of Innovation for IoT M2M, where we are inviting the industry and startups to collaborate with Cdot in the area of developing IoT M2M solutions that are standards-based, because Cdot wants to promote the standardization of IoT M2M in the country. So let me just take you to Cdot's journey on M2M. So before I do that, I will just introduce what is one M2M. So basically, a one M2M partnership project has been started by 8 standardization bodies, international standardization bodies like Wtisd, TIA of United States of America, HC of Europe, TSDSI of India, CCA, CCS, PTA, Arab from Korea, and PTC, sorry, and these are from Japan and Korea. So these organizations have together started the one M2M standardization or partnership project, which enables a global interaction or global standardization of the way these machines communicate with each other. So a machine today in India will be communicating with another machine, say in the US, so they will be able to talk. So
Shikha,
this is the
now?
Yes, sir.
Shri K, you continue. You want me to welcome the guests? I can do that. Otherwise, you continue. I can do it later.
No, sir. Please, you please welcome the guest. Then I will continue. No issues.
I'll just switch on the video. Good afternoon, everyone. My apologies. There was some issue. I don't know why the mic was on, but the voice was not getting through. So I have logged in from the other system. My sincere apologies. Respected members, services, Digital Communication Commission, Shri Nizamul Haq ji, respected member, Technology, Digital Communication Commission, Government of India, Shri K Tiwari ji, distinguished guests, dignitaries, and esteemed speakers representing government, industry, startups, academia, and telecom consortia. And my colleagues from Cdot, Delhi and Bangalore, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for being here with us. It's my great privilege and pleasure to have this opportunity to welcome you all on this webinar on the Center of Innovation for IoT M2M. This is being conducted to mark the observance of World Telecommunication and Information Society Day today. We are honored by the presence of Member T and Member S. They are joining us shortly. I think they slipped on some meeting in DOT in an important meeting. And I extend my, on behalf of Cdot, I extend warm respected members, our esteemed guests, and all stakeholders who are present in this particular webinar for their presence here. I must say that I extend my gratitude to both Member S and Member T, who have been constantly supporting us in all our endeavors, whatever Cdot takes. We are also grateful to our eminent panelists and speakers representing government, industry, academia, and startup who would deliberate upon multiple dimensions of IoT M2M. I welcome all of you, and I'm sure with your presence, a lot good things will come out and some actionable points will come out for Cdot also. As far as this session is concerned, this session aims to bring all relevant stakeholders on a common platform to work out a well-coordinated and harmonious framework for mutual collaboration and engagement that will boost creation of standardized IoT M2M networks for diverse application in the country. The idea of having a dedicated center of innovation for IoT M2M has been conceived in view of huge potential of IoT M2M. We have recently formed a India 5G Alliance, under which we have 10 consortiums in various ways. We thought IoT M2M, rather than limiting it to one of the consortium, we thought we should have a separate center of innovation, because there are multiple players in the market who are working on this, and we would like to facilitate all of them. We have a galaxy of domain experts in our panel today. We have Mr. Sushil Kumar, DDG IoT DEC, as the session moderator and chair. Professor Inder Gopal sir, ISC Bangalore. Professor Subrat Kar sir, IIT Delhi. Always helping us, Ms. Pamela Kumar, DG TSDSI. Mr. Umakant Soni, co-founders and CEO Art Park, who is with us in other committees. So we thought we should take his advice in forming up the Center of Innovation, where basically we'll be hosting all the startups. Mr. Prashad Parshuraman, CEO of Pyrox, Mr. Bhushan Sethi, IoT Vodafone India, Dr. Manjunath Iyer, Principal Consultant Wipro. So all these experts are with us, who will be, discussing various kind of aspects of Center of Innovation. And let me tell you what this Center of Innovation we are setting up. This Center of Innovation is a center where complete research on IoT and M2M, and this center will facilitate the various stakeholders, various application providers, device manufacturers, to come on board onto our CCSP platform, Common Service Layer platform, what Cdot has developed, which is Release 3 compliant M2M. So we would like all these device and application and solution providers to come on board and integrate their application with this platform. And in fact, yesterday I was in DOT, where the indigenous ecosystem has displayed their technology, and I met a couple of IoT solution providers also. What I found that the solutions are not M2M IoT compliant, M2M compliant. If they are not M2M compliant, the problem is your market will be very, very limited. Therefore, we will handhold all the startups to make their applications M2M compliant, and onboard them as a consortium partner, so that together we can give this whole thing as a solution to the market. Wherever required, funding will be provided to our startup. We are opening up 2 startup centers, one at Bangalore, one at Delhi. So soon the policy document of the startup center will come online. And this COI will provide you access to our platform either through cloud, or if you need to come here, we'll provide you space, we'll provide you power, we'll provide you all the facilities. We have already earmarked space for this Center of Innovation. So I welcome you all once again, and invite you to this Center of Innovation. Together, I think we can definitely make this country self-reliant. And I'm also happy to report today, we have signed, in fact, in a couple of minutes, we are signing an agreement with Messrs. Vodafone Idea in the area of IoT M2M. And this particular MOU will facilitate various M2M IoT providers to test their applications with us and then deploy in Vodafone network, so that once it is deployed, tested by Cdot and tested by Vodafone, a joint compliance certificate will be issued, so that your solution doesn't limit only to India. You can go anywhere in the world. So I wish all the success to this webinar, and happy Telecommunication Day to all of you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. May I now request Ms. Shikha Srivastav, Director Cdot, to resume her session on Center of Innovation for IoT M2M and tell us more about this unique initiative. Ma'am, over to you.
Can you see the presentation, everyone?
Yeah, ma'am, we can see the presentation.
Okay. So I'll just run you through the presentation because some people have joined a little late. So today's talk is on Cdot's Center of Innovation for IoT M2m. This is a new move by Cdot to engage with the industry in the area of IoT M2m for standard-based deployment in the country. So this will benefit the entire country. This will benefit the people who join this movement led by Cdot. And overall, it will help everyone because it will allow interoperability, which is very, very essential for successful operations. So I will just run you through Cdot's journey in M2M. Before that, I was just introducing the One M2M partnership project. So this is where the standards of the machine-to-machine communication are being made. So this is a global standard which will enable a machine in India to communicate with a machine in US. So that for this purpose, the 8 telecommunication standardization organizations listed here, like ATIS, TIA, ETSI, TSDSI, CCSA, TTA, ARIB, TTC, these standardization organizations from across the world have joined forces to make the standards for machine-to-machine communication under the One M2M partnership project. Why? Because they do not want to reinvent the wheel and they want a global standard. Why is standardization important? Maybe this slide will give you some idea. When we talk of M2M IoT, you can have a metering application, you can have a health application, you can have a transport application. Now, the solution providers who have hurriedly made the M2M applications, they have just connected their own gateways, their own nodes. So their application is able to connect to their backend node and provide the functionality. However, suppose I need, in the case of health, if I need to transport an ambulance, then I need to connect to the transport application. But in this present architecture, the health application cannot speak to the transport application. So these developments are being done in silos, and this is what the standardization is trying to avoid, because they want all the applications to be able to interwork and to talk to each other. So One M2M is breaking down the silos. So it's moving from this to this kind of a layer, wherein all the applications can speak to all the backend systems, and there's a horizontal information flow. So a service layer has been introduced, which will enable this architecture where each application can interact with the other application. Now I come to how Cdot is playing a pivotal role in M2M. So Cdot is a leader in One2M standardization and has contributed around 430 agreed contributions in One M2M release 2, 3, and 4. Not only that, Cdot is actively contributing in national standardization of institutions like TEC, BIS, Bureau of Indian Standards, TSDSI, and NITI Aayog. And they have helped in authoring the IoT System Reference Architecture Standard in BIS. This is a very important document because it will be the base document for the smart city deployment in India. So here also Cdot has made a mark. Cdot has developed its One M2M based solution, which is the common service layer platform, which provides a horizontal service layer for the M2M applications. Cdot has created a national awareness about standards-based implementation by conducting various workshops, conferences, and developer events. And Cdot has been participating in the 1M2M technical plenaries and interop events. So as you can see, Cdot has made a number of contributions. So these are some of the events on 1M2M which Cdot had done. This was pre-COVID era. So some events were held in Delhi in 2017, and IoT standardization workshops were held in 2017 and 19. And Cdot participated in the 1M2M Industry Day in Etsy in France and presented their 1M2M platform. And they also participated in an IoT exhibition in Singapore. Some events were jointly conducted by Cdot and India-EU ICT Standardization Organization. So there was one international conference on future-proof smart cities with a common service layer, a standards-driven approach. So this, the need for standards-based deployments in smart cities was emphasized by the government, the users, and the solution providers. Another workshop was held in August 2019, the future of telecom technologies, and 1M2M, the global standards for IoT end-to-end. Also, Cdot had participated in the hackathon organized by IIC Bengaluru as a mentor for participants to help them develop the 1M2M applications. And the team which Cdot had mentored won the first prize. We also did a lot of interoperability testing with other organizations. Our products like CCSP-MN, CCSP-ASN, CCSP-IN, with ADNs and ASNs of other international companies like NTT Docomo, LAS, CNRS, Interdigital, HPE, and this was done at various 1M2M interoperability events held at South Korea, Japan, and Taiwan. So we were able to successfully interoperate with all these companies. Not only that, we also participated in the conformance testing by using Etsy conformance testing tool and Spirent conformance testing tool of our products CCSP-MN and CCSP-IN. Cdot has also been part of the Etsy task force for the development of test specifications for release 4. These are integral part of the 1M2M certification program. So these are some of the interoperability events in which Cdot has participated. So this slide sums up Cdot's contribution in the area of 1M2M. So 430 and 58 change requests agreed and noted respectively in 1M2M. 5 1M2M interop events attended by Cdot. Then 1M2M technical plan, more than 15, and then such meetings were attended. And number of 1M2M developer events and workshops organized by Cdot up till now is 4. And 9 organizations are there with whom Cdot has successfully tested the interoperability. And the Cdot CCSP currently supports 12 CSFs. I will just tell you what these CSFs are. So we also hold some roles and positions in 1M2M. So SDS Vice Working Group Vice Chair is Ms. Purnima Shandalya, Team Leader of the M2M Group. Marcom Vice Chair is Shri Arindam Bhattacharya, who is the Group Leader of the 1M2M Applications Group. And then Field Device Configuration Rapporteur. And as I already told you, we are also part of the 1M2M Etsy task force for release for conformance test development. This year also, they have specially requested Cdot to be part of this team. Cdot products of 1M2M include the Cdot developed CCSP, Cdot Common Service Platform, based on 1M2M release 3. Then Cdot has also moved on to integrating the M2M solution with 4G. And for that purpose, we have this developed this Cdot SCEF platform. which has also been POC'd in the 4G network in Chandigarh. Then we have developed various 1M2M applications like smart living application involving temperature, humidity, power monitoring, and HVAC control, fire alarm and fire sensor, sprinkler health monitoring, canteen feedback system, campus vehicle management, emergency alarm, which are deployed in Cdot campus. And we also developed the 6 low-PAN-based smart street light application and LoRa-based patient quarantine system. So this is where the CCSP comes into picture. It provides these functionalities. These are the common functionalities which all applications will be requiring, and therefore they have been standardized by 1M2M. These include the registration of these applications with this platform, discovery of certain applications by the platform, the security architecture right from the application to the backend platform, group management wherein a group of devices can be managed by sending the same notifications, the same messages together to all of them. Then device management, of course, is there, that the device can be turned on and off. Subscription and notification, you can subscribe to events from different devices and get the notifications when those events arrive. Then, of course, we have the data management repository. Then service charging and accounting, the transaction management, and semantics. So these functions are supported in the CCSP of Cdot. And this is the field architecture, wherein you can see in the field domain, the sensors are there, the data collection applications are there, including the ASN, the ADN. And then this Cdot platform comes in CCSP, which provides all the services like registration, addressing, security, discovery, group management, etc. And then we have the head-end applications, which are getting the data from all these sensors. They may be belonging to any application, but these applications, these head-end applications can subscribe to them and get their data. Okay, so now I come to the Center of Innovation in Iot M2m. Are you able to see the slides clearly?
Yeah, ma'am, we can see the slides.
Okay. So the Center of Innovation was set up with certain objectives. And the first objective is to promote development and deployment of national standards compliant Iot M2m solution. Because we want that in our country, people are now not bound to certain vendors or certain solutions. So that's why we want to promote the standards compliant deployment of Iot M2m solutions. So that is for the benefit of our country. Then the second aim is to create an ecosystem of indigenous solution developers and integrators in the area of Iot M2m, because we want to promote Indian companies to come up and to provide solutions in these areas. So we will be giving them help to do so. In this, that's how the third objective comes into picture. That is, we want to provide an easy-to-use facility for testing the Iot M2m solutions of private players. And the broader objective is to create a synergy among the M2m IoT industry for capacity building. So this is a very broad objective of Cdot, wherein it is emerging as a leader in the field of M2m to show the path and to lead the path of Iot M2m solution deployment in the country in a standards-based way. The functions of the Center of Innovation include selection of the Iot M2m applications for testing, provision for technical assistance to the selected parties towards integration and testing their solutions with Cdot CCSP and making it compliant to national standards. We will also be providing certificate to the parties for the successful development and testing of their 1M2M compliant solutions with CCSP, and collaboration with Cdot for commercial bidding in future IoT M2M tenders, wherein these parties who have successfully tested with Cdot, we can collaborate and bid in the tenders. Proposed verticals include asset tracking. We are looking for applications that are working in these areas: asset tracking, transport, e-health, environment, surveillance, solid waste management, smart metering, safety and security, smart home, active assisted living, to name a few. We have captured the onboarding process for your convenience. First step is registration. You have to fill the online registration form on the COI portal, which is https://coi.cdot.in. Then selection is the second step, where the shortlisting of the registered organization is to be done by the screening committee. The third step is acceptance of notification to the parties, notification email to the shortlisted parties, and NDA with Cdot. Then testing will start. Scope of the testing and the time frames will be fixed. Testing would be initiated. And the final step is the report. The test report will be submitted to the screening committee. So the screening committee will come to know whether this startup has been successful or not. After successful integration, what would we have to offer? So first thing is, you can obtain a certificate from us on successful integration testing on the recommendation of the screening committee. You will also be listed on the Cdot website as a successful integrator for a particular release of the 1M2M standard. You would be invited to join a consortium with Cdot. As recommended by the committee for participation in various also deploy solution in the COI experience centers at Cdot Delhi and Bangalore for easy viewing and display for all the people who are coming to Cdot. So you have a way to advertise your solution. So that is all about the Center of Innovation. So the buzzword COI is just starting from Cdot, and I hope you have understood what exactly it means, and I would invite you all to join the COI bandwagon. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am, for sharing with us the critical need of having a dedicated center of innovation to spur the growth of standards-based indigenous IoT M2M ecosystem. Ladies and gentlemen, there is an urgent announcement for the speakers and panelists for our next session. In case they are not able to join the video conference or their respective session, they may contact the numbers shared in the public chat. Ladies and gentlemen, we are now going to have an enriching panel discussion with experts and veterans from the government, industry, startups, and telecom associations who would make us delve into the niceties and subtleties of indigenous IoT M2M firmament. The panel discussion is centered on the theme as to how Center of Innovation can accelerate the growth of indigenous IoT M2M ecosystem. May I now request Shri Sushil Kumar, Deputy Director General IoT, Department of Telecommunications, Government of India, to take the proceedings of this panel discussions forward as the session chair and
Aman,
moderator.
I think a member T has joined, so can we have the...
Yeah, ma'am, not an issue. We'll resume the panel discussion. Ladies and gentlemen, it is indeed an honor to have the esteemed presence of Shri K. Tiwari, Member Technology, Telecommunications Committee, Government of India. Sir, may I request you to kindly address us on this momentous occasion. Shri K. Tiwari, Member Technology, Digital Communications Commission, Government of India, we welcome you, sir, and request you to please address us on this momentous occasion.
Okay. A very good evening to all of you. Am I audible?
Yes,
Yes,
sir,
sir, you are audible.
Right. Thank you. Sorry, I was a bit delayed. Actually, there was a Digital Communication Commission meeting going on. Actually, that is the interministerial meeting. You might be aware, and I mean, it was bit more than it took more than 1.5 hours there. So sorry for the delay. Hope everything is going well.
yes, sir.
Yes,
Right. So very good evening to all of you. I have been given this task for this IoT and all these things for keynote speech. We all are aware that how IoT is transforming the lives of people across all age groups, races, geographies, and socioeconomic strata. Within the smart city context, IoT unifies the operations of data sensing, transmission, reception, processing, and the storage of the city data. A myriad of applications, including but not limited to smart homes, intelligent transportation system, smart parking, smart street lighting, solid waste management systems, etc., are all examples of IoT application use cases, which are essential components of a smart city. With the development of these and many other use cases, smart cities continue to be the largest consumer of IoT applications. With these smart applications, the cities are evolving as connected, livable, energy efficient, adaptive, and resilient cities. The global smart cities market size is also expected to grow from $410 billion in 2020 to $820 billion by 2025 at a compound annual CAGR of 14.8%. So according to the market research organization, growth enabler, 26% of the global IoT market share is that of smart cities. The global thrust towards making the cities smarter have been the biggest motivation factor for the IoT industry. So there is one UN study also, where is the UN projection is that by 2050, around 68% of the population will be in the cities. And whereas in India also, that is global figure, in India also, we expect that close to 50% of the population around 2050 will be in the cities. So with that much pressure and stress on the infrastructure of this cities and urban development actually, so there is a need to how to cope up that stress and how to deliver the services available in a very secured and available manner to every citizen. So with this, actually, in India, there already in 2015-16, around 100 cities with the Honorable Prime Minister's vision, 100 cities were formed, were identified as smart cities. Already Government of India along with the state government are pushing investment in those cities. So to de-stress that load on the infrastructure, what is the best way out? So the best way is each city should be function all verticals in a smarter way actually, and day by day, because population pressure will be more, so the network should go even smarter, whatever is available. There is a projection that as per NDCP also, in India, around 5 billion connected devices should be there by 2022 something. That is our vision actually. So with that much connected devices and all these things and smart city, each smart city are working in every vertical. Suppose waste management is there, health infrastructure is there, power, water management, security, surveillance. Each and every vertical are working in silos. That is the problem actually. They are working in silos and they are not interacting with each other actually. Even in the same smart city, even in the government body or corporate and other corporate. So unless these IoT devices work in a cohesive manner, in an interactive manner, and information from one devices is shared to other devices. If it is not possible, then probably by the time growing age, actually, I mean, with after 2-3 years, each sector, vertical sector, in isolation will not be able to cope up that stress on the smart city. So the need of the smart city and all these IoT devices is that it should be working on a standard-based, generic-based platform. Cdot is also having, I am told that they have developed a platform. So we have to reach each, I mean, through Mahua and I mean, tomorrow there is also a panel discussion and other things are there. And Secretary Urban Housing and Urban Affairs will also be the part of that panel discussion. Probably it will be a good platform to raise all these things there. What I understand that Cdot, because they have already developed this standard base, because ITU and TEC has already contributed lot of in standard making, lot of contribution has been made by the TEC. But because of not, I mean, unawareness of on the part of the service providers, smart city providers, and many other organizations, now it is our time as a need that we as DOT, integrated with the Cdot, TEC, TSDSI, we should approach to these vertical ministries, state governments, urban, local urban administration, that whatever identified 100 cities are there, their platform should be generic platform for IoT, and they should work on a standard-based IoT. India has already adopted 1M, 2M as a standard through transposition of SI. So, and TEC has already given so many contribution in that. So we should emphasize that, because without having a standard-based generic platform, these connected devices, once it will require upgradation, once a scale has to be deployed at the larger scale, then probably there will be a vendor lock. When we will be in a vendor lock-in position, we cannot then a proprietary item. There is lot of problems, legal issues may be there, and we have to pay whatever they ask. So all these issues can be resolved only once these platforms are generic based, standard based, and whatever ITU has recommended, all those standards, if it is a standard based product which is recommended, adopted by India, if it is working on that, probably we can take at later stage of time, we can take another vendor, we can take a third vendor, and all these systems will be interoperable. Otherwise, systems are talking, they are not able to talk to any other, I mean, they are able to share the information to other systems. Then either you, as a whole, you have to upgrade that system, and then it will be capex intensive, and that much capex India cannot afford, actually, or that city cannot afford. So this is not the wise decision actually. And so with that input, and of course Cdot is having those input, and this in deliberation probably you will be discussing. So I look forward that there will be a good, takeaway from this webinar, and those recommendations I'll definitely discuss with Dr. Rajkumar Upadhyay and Madam Shikha Srivastava. What was the deliberations and what is the takeaway from this, so that this in interministerial meetings also, we'll be able to press them to adopt these deliberations, these takeaways, your recommendations, so that India is really benefited. Because in IoT, working in silos, probably we are going to land nowhere. That is not a solution proper. So with this all, I really wish a very good grand success actually to this webinar, and hope that Cdot will in future also through, they will collaborate more and more with other entities also. I'm not sure how many persons are here in this webinar. So they will collaborate with more and more vertical agencies, smart cities, organizations, and all these things. NTI-PRIT is there, TEC and all this, so that we are able to give a proper policy decisions, proper guidance to the smart cities. This is our responsibility. With this all, I wish a very grand success to this webinar. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for sharing your key insights into the huge
You are not audible.
potential of IoT M2m and the critical role of secure and standardized IoT M2m in the creation of sustainable smart cities, lead to have in the Untitled Haq, Member Services, Digital Communications Commission, Government of India. We extend our hearty welcome to you, sir. May I request you to kindly address us on this eventful day. Shri Nizamul Haq, Member Services, Digital Communications Commission, Government of India.
Dear Shri Tiwari ji, Member Technology, Digital Communications Commission, Dr. Upadhyay, Executive Director Cdot, the erudite panelists, and the participants to this webinar. A good afternoon to all of you. Friends, the fast evolving technological ecosystem coupled with this progressively easy availability of advanced pieces of electronics has happened numerous opportunities and newer solutions to the humankind. Our panel is going to discuss one of such technologies that allows the communication to be expanded beyond among humans to the lifeless machines. This machine-to-machine communication, popularly known as IoT, that is Internet of Things, can not only automate the routine mundane work, but has an immense potential in using these sensors for collection of data and performing data analytics operation to extract information. The capabilities of IoT has led to a whole new industrial revolution, that is Industry 4.0, which aims to boost productivity by enabling automation, real-time data analytics, seamless operations with preventive maintenance, leading to better cost competitiveness at global level. The leading market research organizations had estimated that by the year 2030, the number of IoT devices worldwide is likely to grow to more than 25.4 billion. This is almost 3 times the 8.74 billion connected device in 2020. At present, more than 100 million IoT devices belonging to electricity, gas, water supply, and waste management, retail and wholesale, transport, storage, and government are connected globally. However, such exponential growth of IoT is going to put significant stress on the communication infrastructure. In India, the Department of Telecommunications has set a target to expand the IoT ecosystem to cater to 5 billion connected devices by 2022 in the National Digital Communications Policy. It is expected that the ratio of consumer to enterprise connected devices would be approximately 50-50. However, the siloed vendor logged in proprietary solution are some of the major bottlenecks which are making the entire framework of IoT M2M inefficient and expensive. The standards also allow solution providers to create innovative applications using standardized open interfaces. Such solutions would be much cheaper and create vehicles of economic sustainability for the smart cities. So, for a large country like India, there was always a need to have a standardized horizontal architecture which not only allows interoperability and secure data sharing, but also ensure accountability of connected devices and applications while being free of vendor lock-in. Having an open standard would also allow smaller enterprises, including startups, to participate and contribute with their innovative IoT solutions, particularly in smart cities. The Department of Telecommunications, Government of India understood that quite early and started way back in 2013 to brainstorm and come out with serious policies and framework to standardize the M2M IoT ecosystem. TOT has also implemented a separate 13-digit numbering scheme for SIM-based M2M devices to cater to the need of modern technological developments in M2M IoT. DOT has permitted the use of eSIM without both single and multiple profile configuration with over-the-air subscription update facility. As per prevailing global practices and standard GSMA, the Know Your Customer KYC norms has to be fulfilled by the telecom service providers, that is TSPs, for eSIMs as well as SIMs used for IoT M2M. Telecom Engineering Center, that is TEC, released various technological reports on several aspects of IoT and smart cities, including gateway and architecture, security, communication technologies, smart cities, smart city users, etc. Cdot, as an R&D unit of Department of Telecom, has always been at the forefront of technology and in the domain of IoT also. It is leading the way. It has always been a legacy of Cdot to help the ecosystem grow. 35 years ago, Cdot has started doing so with REX, where a complete industry grew and thrived because of Cdot. Today, Cdot's contribution to IoT has the same promise. It is indeed a matter of pride that Cdot is one of the largest contributors in the world to the technical specifications of the global standard for IoT, that is 1M2M. It is pertinent to mention that here that 1M2M has been adopted as the national standard by TEC and is also the foundation for the IoT standard published by BIS. Cdot Common Service Platform, CCSP, is the IoT platform based on 1M2M standard, which is being continuously upgraded to the latest release of 1M2M. Cdot's implementation has been successfully tested many times with international products for interoperability and conformance. I am aware that Cdot has been conducting workshops and developer tutorials to spread awareness among the industry about the standards. With the launch of Center of Innovation, Cdot aims to continue the same work by collaborating with the industry partners, especially startups who are interested in developing of application based on the national standard. I am quite excited and enthusiastic about Cdot's vision to create a complete ecosystem of standardized solution providers in the country based on the national standards. The success of COI would mean that with the national standard compliant smart city solution produced through this collaboration, our cities would become the smartest and the most efficient city in the world. I urge the Indian industry to lap up this opportunity which is coming at the right time. Kindly make the most out of it and create solutions that would benefit the country and its people. I wish Cdot and all participating organizations a great success and assure you that DOT would provide all necessary support towards this endeavor. Thank you all.
Thank you, sir, for your insightful views highlighting the pressing need of enhanced security, standards, innovation, and interoperability in achieving wider proliferation of IoT M2M across global digital networks. Ladies and gentlemen, we are now going to have an enriching panel discussion with experts and veterans from the government, industry, startups, and telecom associations who would make us delve into the intricacies and subtleties of indigenous IoT M2M firmament. The panel discussion is centered on the theme as to how Center of Innovation can accelerate the growth of indigenous IoT M2M ecosystem. May I now request Shri Sushil Kumar, Deputy Director General IoT, Department of Telecommunications, Government of India, to take the proceedings of this panel discussion forward as the session chair and moderator. Shri Sushil Kumar, Deputy Director General IoT, over to you, sir.
Yeah, thank you. My voice is clear?
Yes, sir, you're audible.
Right, thank you very much. Today is a very, very important day. It is a Isd, World Telecommunication Information Society Day, and I welcome you all on this day. Respected Shri Nizamul Haq sir, Member Services, Shri K Tiwari sir, Member Technology, Dr. RK Upadhyay, ED Cdot, eminent speakers, and all the participants in this webinar. Good evening to all. This, as ITU was founded on 17th May 1865, and every year this day is celebrated as Isd Day. And this year the theme is something different. The theme is the digital technologies for the older persons and the healthy aging. As already mentioned by previous speakers, that IoT ICT technologies, they are quite important for the development of smart infrastructure in various verticals, and especially in smart cities. And these verticals are made smart to improve the quality of life, to resolve the various challenges of the common citizens in their daily life. And if you see, the IoT is a bunch of technologies. This IoT is benefited by a number of technologies like the sensor network, the communication technology, that may be the cellular and the non-cellular, the cloud computing, artificial intelligence, machine learning, and so many other technologies. So this DOT started working on M2M IoT policy sometime in 2013-14, and at the same time TC started working on standardization. And as we know, the standard development is a collaborative efforts. Therefore, TEC works in multi-stakeholders working group, and also participate in the meetings of TSDSI, BIS, and so many other organizations at the national level, and also at the international level in IEEE, ITU, ISO, IEC, and ETSI, NIST conferences, webinars, etc. TEC released 18 technical reports in the last 4 to 6 years in various verticals, and with the outcome to be intended to be used in policy and standards, and so many policy items and the standards where these outcomes are being used, and some are also in consideration for use in standards and policies, and it will help in the development of ecosystem in the IoT domain. TC also adopted 1M2M release 2 as a national standards, and 1M2M release 3 work is in progress. Madam Pamela will be speaking more on 1M2M. And it's a very important standards, and we are proud of Cdot. Cdot is the second one across the globe after Korea to develop the 1M2M based platform. Now, once Cdot has developed 1M2M release 2, and then after that they have upgraded it to release 3. Now, IIT Hyderabad as well as the CDEC Trivandrum, they have also developed the 1M2 release 2 platform, and this, as already mentioned, the MAUA has also mentioned it in its RFP and also released the advisory to smart city SPVs. Standards, they are very important for any smart infrastructure and also for the smart cities. If we want to keep the smart infrastructure to remain smart for the longer duration, we want that the smart cities should remain smart not only for present generation, but they should remain smart for the future generations also. Recently, we released the framework for National Trust Center, the work item which was given by TRI around 3 years back. And on this framework, the Cdot is already working, and they have submitted some proposal for the development of the NTC. And it is very much required because the connected devices or the platforms, they may be hacked, and NTC will work as a facilitator to the IoT and smart city platforms for resolving the vulnerabilities and the security related issues through manufacturers and the researchers. Today, we are having a very eminent panelist in this panel discussion, the experts from the industries and the academia. So, to start with the discussions, I would request the speakers to brief in 4 to 5 minutes about the IoT related activities going on in their leadership, and then we will have a round of questions there. So we are having the expert speakers in this panel, Dr. Inder Gopal, Professor IISc Bangalore, Madam Pamela Kumar, DG TSDSI, Mr. Umakant Soni, co-founder and CEO Art Park, and Mr. Prasad Parshuraman, CEO Pyrox, Mr. Bhushan Sethi, Vodafone Idea, and Dr. Manjunath Iyer, Principal Consultant Wipro, and Dr. Subrat Kar, Professor IIT Delhi. So I think all the speakers are there. We are 6, but we should be 7 as per the chart given to me. So someone is missing, or video is not on. So to start with, who is missing? Arindam, someone is missing. You are here.
I think the screen can accommodate only 6.
No, you have to do press the next button, next button. It is like you can modify the number of speakers you want. So there are 8 speakers right now. I can read out their names. Mr. Sushil Kumar,
seven.
Mr.
Including
Sushil
myself,
Kumar,
there will be 8. Yeah.
Dr. Inder Gopal is there. Ms. Pamela Kumar is there. Mr. Umakant Soni is there. Mr. Prasad Parshuraman is there. Dr. Manjunath Iyer is there, and Dr. Subrat Kar is there, and Mr. Bhushan Sethi is also there. So I think the panel is complete.
Okay, all are there. That's good. So now I would request Dr. Inder Gopal, Professor IISc Bangalore, a very renowned figure, to kindly brief some of the key points, activities in progress in your leadership. Over to you, sir.
Sure. Thank you so much. Thank you. And really congratulations to Cdot on the launch of this Center of Innovation. I think it's a real accomplishment to have gotten to this point, and I look forward to really a lot more from the new entity. So let me kind of so I'm a research professor at Indian Institute of Science, and I'm also the head of the India Urban Data Exchange, right, which is working very closely with the Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs to deploy a data enabling platform, a data sharing platform across smart cities. And we're deployed in about 20 smart cities. And so I've seen on the ground a lot of the deployments in smart cities, and how data is being collected and interacted with a lot of IoT systems that have been deployed. So we've seen, I think, firsthand how IoT systems are being deployed, what kind of IoT systems are out there, and maybe some of the pros and cons of the current infrastructures. And I think Ms. Srivastav had mentioned applications and, of course, the benefit of open standards. But I guess my perhaps cautionary note is that a lot of the benefit, I think, can really happen only if the device and sensor manufacturers adopt these open standards. And at least what I've seen so far on the ground is perhaps a reluctance on the part of these device and sensor manufacturers. And in fact, on this panel, a very august panel, there are no device or sensor manufacturers represented. And I think one of the things that I would really advocate the COI to do is actively solicit the participation of sensor and device manufacturers, get them to adopt some of these open standards. And I think really that's the key to enabling the kind of benefit that we hope to see. So, I mean, if you go, for example, to a lot of, smart cities that, as I said, I'm involved in about 20 of them right now, and every month we're adding 2-3 more. Most of these IoT sensors deployments are proprietary closed systems, right? So if you look, for example, you have, Bosch AQM sensors. They'll be talking to a Bosch sensor cloud managed by a proprietary server, speaking proprietary protocols. It's a completely closed ecosystem, and the only exposure externally is the data that's being created, and that too, it's in a proprietary format. And that's the kind of that's where our platform connects. Similarly, if you look at the GPS fleet management systems, right? I mean, for fleet management, or traffic sensors, or connected cars, IoT in agri environments. Again, very much proprietary closed systems. And I think you could ask the question, why don't they adopt open systems? And I think largely because there's no compelling reason for them to do that, right? Customers are not demanding it. If they do, they lose their freedom of action. And they can optimize their own proprietary environments in a way that is, best suited for their systems. And I think one of the challenges I would say that COI really needs to take on is actively engage with the device and sensor manufacturers and vendors, and create a compelling value proposition to say, look, this is the reason why you need to adopt open systems. And I think that's a challenge, I would say. If you take this on and are successful, I think that's really where we will see the benefit of a lot of the interoperability and application development and so forth that I think various speakers have talked about. So I'm just one. I mean, in terms of another thing that I would suggest COI to look at is really creating some differentiated value, right? I mean, adopting standards is great, but try to be ahead of the standards as well. Push the standards forward. And I think one area that I would like to perhaps engage with COI as we go forward is in privacy and security. For example, in the IUDX project, we're working on a lot of privacy issues. We are working, for example, on differential privacy, right? Which is basically trying to mask data by adding in some noise so you can compute the right result, but you don't necessarily divulge the data. And I think those same kind of techniques can be adopted by a lot of IoT systems, and in fact are being adopted. But I think what value can be created really is sort of out of the box capabilities, right? So rather than these things being algorithms sitting in a book, they can be code, open source code that vendors can take and deploy. And I think that could be a real spur for innovation and new capabilities. And we'd love to collaborate on that. Similarly, we are working on lots of other areas, for things like multi-party communication that allows entities to work together and perform shared computation. So, for example, IoT devices can collaborate, but not necessarily share data, right? secure enclaves, which allow tamper-proof hardware, so the data, cannot be tampered with, which is very important for IoT sensors that are sitting out in the field. So these are all things I think that from an ISC point of view and from a IUDX point of view, we would love to collaborate with COI as we go forward. So again, I'm very excited. I mean, I think you guys are doing a wonderful service to the country, and I'm looking forward to some real results, and I'm hoping that some of the comments I made are helpful and can perhaps provide some positive perspective.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Gopal. I think you have mentioned sensors. I think it should be devices.
Yes, devices.
Might be mentioning the devices.
Yes, yeah. I mean,
not the sensors. Yeah. Okay. This IUDX platform, that is really very important, and that is for the convergence of the IoT and non-IoT data. The next speaker in this series is Ms. Pamela Kumar, DG TSDSI. So, Madam, floor is yours to brief about the TSDSI and your the work going on.
Okay, so I should just brief about TSDSI and Iot M2m. I thought I had been posed a question on standards, so that will be a second round of discussions.
Yeah, you can brief some important activities, and then the second round will continue. Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, first and foremost, I want to congratulate Cdot on announcement of this Center of Innovation for Iot M2m. So Cdot has been the driver for standardization in Iot M2m space, and they have been a pioneer in India, and they've been the ones who have been the driving force in us being able to get 1M2m adopted as a national standard for Iot M2m standardization. I think the need for standards-based deployment is being seen a lot. The reason for creating an IUDX was also to have some common way of doing things. Even though it's not standardized, it has to go through the rigors of standardization.
It is standardized through BIS.
Okay. Let's see. So I think it needs to be a globally harmonized standard, right? So TSDSI is a partner of 1M2m. And in the Iot M2m space, the real global, so people talk about 5-year deployments, right? And there is this confusion about 5-year being the standard versus 1M2m being the standard. So I've been looking up, this stuff, and it's 5 years says clearly, right? We are a market-driving open source software, right? It says that we are an implementation. So it says comprising of components. So they've taken MongoDB and they've taken the SIM from somewhere. They've taken a broker, Orion broker, and they say you put this all together, and this is how you can create a solution for smart healthcare or Industry 4.0, So this is what they're doing. They're an implementation, when they're claiming they are open source. It's like I guess Android, right? But it's dominated by a vendor. And the vendor rallies other vendors together to give it a framework of. Whereas what is happening in 1M2m is that it's an open, it's a community of standardization. And at the stage, so 3GPP also came into serious deployment only in release 8 and 9. They saw early deployments, and release 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So till 13, 14 was what was 4G, and 15, 16 is now 5G, right? So the standardization journey takes time. It's a very arduous process. It requires engagement, and as Inder Gopal himself pointed out, the users need to demand it. Vendors will not be motivated to make themselves standard based because they lose their monopoly. They put as he himself said, that the Bosch sensor talks to the Bosch cloud, and it uses its Bosch server, and then only you can build a solution based on that. So I don't know what application, I forgot. But for fleet management, he gave another example for, so people are building these solutions based on their components which talk to each other, right? They don't want standardization because it reduces their dominance in the market. It opens up, it makes them vulnerable to other competition. It levels the playing field, okay? And Cdot rightly recognized that there was a need to level the playing field, especially for a country like India. And it's not just that. I think the world over, the regulators do recognize the need for a standards-based deployment. It's the same thing that happened in the wireless world in 1G, 2G. There was confusion. Everybody was doing their own standards, and finally they decided that for this to really happen, we need to come together. That's the stage we are in 1M, 2M. And I think with people like Sushil Kumar driving us and the Cdot team, Arindam and others driving us, I think in India we are really doing the right things, okay, in terms of working towards a national standard. And I think now our presence in 1M, 2M is increasing, and if we leverage that strength, we can really transition the momentum towards standard-based deployments in IoT and M2M, which right now is kind of not happening at the pace that it needs to be. And I really want to conclude by giving this example that I've given in several other places. Coming from the semiconductor world, there was a similar thing that happened with Verilog, right? Verilog. So when the community which does hardware design decided that instead of making NAND gates and NOR gates and AND gates to define a schematic, there could be a language in which we could define. And Synopsys did that. Synopsys developed a language, and it was called Verilog. But it was the developers loved it. The community loved it, right? To be able to write in English rather than to have to make those schematics. It became so much simpler and easier to describe hardware in a language, a hardware description language. But it was a Synopsys language, and at that time, the world over, everybody said that, so IEEE started this effort of doing a standards-based hardware description language called VHDL. Okay, VLSI hardware description language. Now everybody said, this is taking too much time and it's too cumbersome to drive consensus and make it happen. Verilog has caught like fire. 90% of the VLSI designers are using it all over the globe. VHDL is not going to take place. But when VHDL happened, Verilog died because Verilog was dominated by one vendor, and people want an open standard, right? Where they can have an equal say. So I think that's what I see happening in the space right now, and I believe that all these are the right steps that stand, and maybe India has an opportunity to pioneer here in doing standards-based deployments. And if we can mandate it with MOHUA, member T, if he's still here in his tomorrow's panel, he should emphatically say that MOHUA should mandate. We should go to 5-year and IoTX and say, hey guys, are you 1M, 2M compliant? You demonstrate you are 1M, 2M compliant, okay? And let Cdot test them and say, Cdot and TEC test them and say, yes, they are 1M, 2M compliant. Why not? Right? Let's start there. So that would be my 2 bits here.
Thank you, madam. I was going through one document of the European Union. They mentioned that EU is having more than 400 IoT platforms, and they were facing the problem for sharing of data, and then they asked AIoTI, Alliance for Internet of Things Innovation, to come to some solutions how they can share the data across these platforms. So we need some, we are at the initial stage of deploying the platforms in the smart cities. Therefore, we should have some sort of standardized solutions to avoid such type of problems in future. So our next speaker is Mr. Umakant Soni, co-founder and CEO of Art Park. So Mr. Soni, over to you.
Thank you, Sushil ji. It's a pleasure and congratulations to Cdot for this fantastic center of innovation that's been set up. Congratulations. And I will actually give you a quick background of myself. Art Park, AI and Robotics Technology Park, has been set up by the seed grant from Department of Science and Technology under NMICPS mission, and 60 crores grant from Government of Karnataka, total $30 million in the seed grant. And it's incubated at Indian Institute of Science. And my background has been 20 years in industry, and last 12 years have been in AI space, artificial intelligence. First as an entrepreneur, then as an investor. I set up the first AI-focused venture fund for India called Pi Ventures, and we supported 14 companies. One of them was actually in M2m space. The interesting thing that actually I would love to talk about is that if we take a step back and see what's the impact, and I would probably look at it from an economic perspective as well. So if you look at 1975, we had connected up to 1 billion places by rail, by road, by air, by water, and that was the peak of the industrial revolution. So you could sell the excess production of one place to another place, right? By 2005, we had connected up to 500 million people by email, by social network, and that was the beginning of the knowledge economy. So you could sell the excess knowledge of one person to another, right? By 2025, we are estimating that we'll connect 5 billion people with 50 billion devices, and by 2030, that is going to create, $15.7 trillion of new economic value, and we're calling it AI-driven experience economy, right? So if I really see this, and this is a massive opportunity, especially because a lot of this value creation is going to happen in what we call as digital intelligent intangibles. And that, the whole space. So the tangible asset part is going to be 1/10 of the intangible part. And what would that be? That would be, a whole bunch of digital experiences which we'll be creating, buying, sharing, and that's what we see will happen, right? So one, it's a huge economic opportunity, and I only agree with Pamela ma'am. She talked about standardization, and for these things to work together, work in collaboration with each other. We're talking about connecting 50 billion devices, so we need to definitely have those standards. The second perspective I see is this new kind of business model emerging, right? So you have technology innovation together with business model innovation, right? And those are the ones which are going to then create new kind of industries, right? So we are calling these kind of companies as AIoT companies, artificial intelligence of things, right? Which will be kind of like the core of these companies, right? And these will be in excess of, $10 trillion and plus, really large companies. Now, at Art Park, what we are exploring is that how can we seed these kind of companies in Indian ecosystem, right? Because if you really see from a government perspective, you can only tax the profit, right? And so if we have most of the companies which are having profits in 7, 8, 10% range, mostly there are trading companies, even if you tax them at 30%, it's only 2-3%, right? So you have such a huge population, you can support them with very little small amount of profit that you're getting from a few companies. But if you look at the AIoT companies, the AI-driven experience economy, those will actually have profit margins in excess of, maybe 50, 60, 70%, because a lot of those assets are going to be digital in nature, right? And that is a great opportunity because by leveraging this center of innovation, if we can bring together a whole community of entrepreneurs, academicians, at the same, as well as the government working in tandem, we could really, get a lion's share of, this new economic value that's going to come. Currently, out of this $15.7 trillion, 8 trillion is supposed to go to China because they actually build that ecosystem, and only 1 trillion might come to India. But what I believe is that the game is just starting to grow. And if we can really take up the right step, standardization, how do we bring and incentivize innovators on top of this? We could garner a much lion's share. What China is doing today, why can't we do it tomorrow? So that is definitely an open question for all of us to deliberate upon. And that's where I would say that at Art Park, we are trying to make that happen. So if you want to collaborate with us, you're all welcome.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Soni. I would like to mention that while I am continuously participating in ITUT study group 20 that works on IoT and smart cities. If we compare India's participation with the China and Korea and Japan, You see, from India, even during the virtual participation, so we find it very difficult from the industries and the academia to participate in the in standardization events, not only in ITUT study group 20, even also in ISO, IEC, JTC1, SC41, because I chair the LITD 27 also. And I don't know why the people are so much having reluctance to participate in the remotely in the standardization body activities. So we have to make more and more participation, only then our people will learn, and it will benefit the manufacturers in the long run.
Not only manufacturers, even the innovators. So
Yeah,
I'll give you a perspective that, I represent India on the Global Partnership on AI.
we will come again to you, Hannah. Please mention this. Next, our Mr. Prasad Parshuraman, CEO, Pyrox ICT. Over to you, Mr. Parshuraman.
Yeah, thank you very much. Good evening to everybody. My special regards to the members of the Digital Communication Commission, Executive Director Cdot, members of Cdot, and all other panelists present here. It's indeed an honor to be part of this panel and to be hearing and contributing to all the wonderful ideas that are emerging out of this wonderful initiative called 1M2M. I have been, because of the patronage that Cdot has provided to small entrepreneurs like me, I have been a recipient to all these kinds of inputs from Cdot for the last 4 or 5 years. Thanks to Arindam sir and his entire team. Thanks to Sushil sir also for being a guide, being a guide to all of us time and again. And my special congratulations to Cdot on again conceptualizing this masterstroke called Center of Innovation. So to begin with, just because this whole webinar is focused on how the Center of Innovation would be useful, let me give you a small example. My son learns Indian classical music, so I am part of some groups where Indian classical music, just like one subject, Indian classical music is also very similar. It has very less audience as of now, just like a 1M2M. So we had a challenge of how to increase the audience. So one simple method was to organize a online concept platform for learners of Carnatic music and Hindustani music, where we would display a 5-minute video of their performance on the internet, like Facebook or YouTube. And believe me, we had participants from 50 countries and audience from 120 countries. So if my son was singing, my entire family, my relatives, my all the stakeholders related to my family, would watch this and type some comments on YouTube and this one. So this Center of Innovation, where Cdot is focusing on bringing startups into their fold and encouraging them to adopt this 1M2M standard, will have a similar ripple effect is what I feel. Suppose we have 50 or 100 startups, in all their marketing campaigns, they'll talk about 1M2M. All their stakeholders, their customers, their vendors, their software developers, their hardware developers, everybody is going to be impacted. And this will not only provide as an encouragement, a big encouragement to the startups, but it will also provide as a major source of major channel to market ourselves as an 1M2M community. Moreover, the ecosystem that will be created with so many startups coming together will really benefit all of us. So my very special congratulations to Cdot, and wish Godspeed to Cdot and DOT for this wonderful initiative. As Dr. Inder Gopal pointed out, the big companies would not like to look at standardization for obvious reasons. But I would cite my own example to prove to you all how a small company like mine would lab this up, would take this up as an olive branch. So I start with my story. I'll also introduce myself, my activities in between. So kindly bear with me for 2 minutes. So I've been doing fire protection for 22 years now. And one of the major problems with fire protection is that it is a passive system. Imagine your electricity is not working, you know the AC doesn't work, you know the mixer doesn't work, grinder doesn't work, your geyser doesn't work. If the water doesn't come, you know you can't go to the washroom. But if the fire protection system doesn't work, okay, nothing gets affected. Our homes are running as usual, our offices are running as usual. So in all my first decade of work, I was always wondering how can fire protection systems actually give fire protection to the people who buy this, and they spend huge budgets. So because the fire protection systems are highly susceptible to damage and repair. So the only solution that seemed to me was have an external agency, a kind of a web server or a telephone auto dialer or something, which would keep talking to this fire protection system and find out whether it is healthy or not. And that was my
Mr. Tushar,
yeah.
sorry, due to scarcity of time, we have to limit.
Yeah.
I think you have provided a very wonderful system in Cdot, and Cdot can provide a webinar on the fire protection of the of multi-storied building. That is really wonderful.
Yes.
So thank you for providing these details. Our next speaker in this chain is Mr. Bhushan Sethi from Vodafone Idea. Mr. Sethi, over to you.
Sushilji, Arindam here. Bhushan Sethi is with me on mobile.
Yeah.
Actually, he is facing some difficulty on his device. So he'll speak from here. So I have put him on there. So over to you, Bhushanji.
Yeah, thank you very much. Am I audible to all the...
Not clear. Voice is not clear.
Am I audible to you?
Bhushanji, you have to be a little louder.
Mr. Bhushan can try joining again. We are having two more speakers. Let him try to join.
No, he tried, sir, but somehow I think he is facing some technical difficulties. I can relay
let
it
me
in
see
that
if you
case.
can get the voice. Yeah, please.
Yeah. Bhushanji, continue.
So am I audible, everyone? Thank you very much and good evening to you. My apologies because I'm not able to join through the other channels, my laptop, etc. And I tried joining through the phone also. So, but anyway, many thanks to Cdot for including me in this panel discussion, along with all the distinguished guests from the industry. B is a market leader in the IoT with more than almost 10 million connections. Every 1 out of 2 POS machines, 3 out of 4 smart meters, and 9 out of 10 electric car are using B connectivity. We are providing varieties of customized connectivity solutions to various customers, and now we have lately forayed into integrated IoT solutions as well as the eSIM solutions we started offering in the market. Now, I would like to share some of the experiences which we have gone through in our journey of connectivity, as we have dealt with many device vendors, application vendors, OEMs, etc. So I majorly see 2 types of challenges which are coming, and this is basically our experiences, which we have shared, which we have faced over so many years. There are 2 types of challenges we see. One is the network-related challenges, and the other is about device and application-related challenges. On the network-related, am I audible to you, all of you? Are you able to hear me?
I think we have lost Mr. Bhushan Sethi. So we can move to next speaker. Arindam, voice is not clear. It is muffling.
If it is muffling, then probably Arindam, let the other speaker speak out. There is no point me trying to unnecessarily waste time. Let the other speaker continue. Let me see if I can join to other media.
Please try to join. Please try to join. Yeah.
Let me see that.
Yeah, please.
We are having the next expert, Dr. Manjunath Iyer, Principal Consultant Wipro. Over to you, Mr. Iyer. We are not getting your voice. I think you are mute. Yeah. And we are not getting voice.
Dr. Manjunath, I think you'll have to rejoin. Your voice is not coming. Though your microphone is detected, your.
So in the meantime, we can listen to Dr. Subrat Kar, Professor IIT Delhi. Over to you, Dr. Kar. We are not getting your voice. No, not getting your voice. You have to disconnect and reconnect again. I think there is some issue in your mic or in the connection.
Yeah, you have to enable your microphone. Your audio is not enabled.
You are mute at present. Not getting.
You can try to do your close your video.
Is it not working now?
Yeah, now it is coming. Yeah,
Now,
please carry on.
Good. So the advantage of going last is that you get to hear what everybody has to say. And I think one of the things to remember is that Cdot is not the first to start this. You are late. NASCOM has done this. Several others have done it. They have done it in a centralized way. They have done it in a distributed way. They were also late, but you are specially late. Right? So it always deserves congratulations. At whatever point you started, such a center deserves congratulations. So congratulations. But there are some pitfalls, some dragons along the way. Right? Professor Gopal actually mentioned that we need to build sensors. For 30 years, I have been watching committees and being part of committees which fund capex investment by the government into building sensors. Now, building a sub-cent sensor, which is 2 cents in cost, takes an industry which is many, many millions of dollars in cost. Now, that is something which comes at a very big cost and with very big pockets in play. So I would say just making a 2-cent sensor is very difficult, which is why most of the IoT solutions you see are integrated solutions. They integrate components available from everywhere, right? Which is it's part of the reason is we don't make anything. We don't have foundries. The last significant IC I heard was in NAL, right? There was one Rockwell 6502 we used to make in Mohali, but that burned down. We make a few proprietary equivalents of Pentiums, but those are Pentium 4, Pentium 3 equivalents. We went PowerPC CPU-wise, but that fizzled out. Now these are weaknesses we have to deal with, right? We are a thirsty country. We need water. We are a hungry country. We need food. We are a poor country, right? We don't have too much money to afford playing around with solutions. You will see this manifested in many ways. You will see how we organize our tenders by taking the best of all countries and putting it into one tender and saying, give this to India. That allows us to leapfrog many of the economic pains and pinches along the way, which lots of companies face. Right? We don't face those problems. We actually skip over them. But like giving birth, that pain has a value. We don't suffer that value. We have big problems and we have very little pockets, small pockets. Right? So we think that if we build an IoT device, it must be below 10 rupees. That's impossible. It's very difficult, right? So our solutions are always towards applauding those little solutions. The problems and solutions which we can do in scale, those we do not attempt because we are very likely to fail at those devices. Largely, there are exceptions, of course. We are very unproductive in our big things, like for instance, agriculture. Whatever we do in agriculture, whatever we do in animal husbandry is not nowhere near, let's say, a Texas or a US ranch, right? So we do not think of a farmer with 100,000 cows. Dealing with the cows with 3 employees, we do not think like that. If it's 1 cow, 1 employee, 2 cows, 3 employees, 4 cows, 6 employees. It goes like that. So it's a very difficult country to build solutions for. I sit on CII's committees, so I get to hear about both ends of the need, right? The supply and the demand end. And most of what I see as solutions is not made in India, right? Most of what we have as touted solutions is absolutely not made in India. Now, we also have the other problem that we always want results to be immediate and tangible. Right? Results are good, but sometimes we need to have the appetite to withstand a lack of results. The courage to say, so what, if you're not succeeding now, 3 years down the line, you will succeed. We'll still go on funding. We tend to applaud result makers, and result makers therefore tend to upplay whatever they produce. So we have no appetite for risk actually. And 3 decades of working with the Indian government and with bodies who fund these researches has taught me that we have absolutely no risk-taking appetite. Now, I would say that you need to be something like Y Combinator. A Y Combinator is US based, but Y Combinator is an organization, I would say, which takes a startup, believes in it, funds it, and puts them into a rich connection of venture capitalists, startup mentors, gurus, ecosystem of producers, factories, etc., etc. So you need to become a Y Combinator in order to see how you can succeed. It need not be of relevance to Cdot. And that is a danger you will have to guard against. Is this of any consequence to Cdot is not the question this center should ask. Is it of consequence to anybody in India? My last observation is that funding has to be
your voice is
the
going
order
to be muffled, Mr. Kar.
I often find that if somebody asks for 20 lakhs, they say, can you do it at 6 lakhs? If he gets 6 lakhs, they disburse it to the person in 50,000 tranches. You cannot jump over a chasm in 20 little steps. You have to jump once. That the person little, I know happens in this country. If you think somebody is asking for too little money,
Mr. Kar, we are not getting your voice
give him
clear
more.
at all.
Or give him more.
Yeah, thank you.
Let's
So
see
this,
how I get the courage.
I think India is a developing country, and no doubt we don't have the fab, and it is not in the purview of the Cdot to create a fab. So, and number of these innovation centers, they have been developed by Arnett, but they are in the application areas, not in the platform areas. The center of innovation which this Cdot is creating, that is on the 1M2m platform, and that is something different from the this center of innovations which have been created by Arnett. Yeah, thank you. Now, coming to the second round, we are having some questions, and along with the questions, kindly suggest what is required for the Center of Innovations, your suggestion in one line, and you can reply about the questions. My question to Dr. Indra Gopal is, what is your view on current challenges of M2M IoT proliferation in the country, and what are the suggestions from the academia perspective for the proposed COI, and your suggestion how the COI can further develop, and what more innovations they should have in the Center of Innovation. Over to you, Mr. Gopal. I think we can be in 3 to 4 minutes brief. Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
I may be quicker than that.
Yeah.
But I mean, actually, what Professor Carr said actually was, I think, really resonated with me, which at least one important thing I got out of that is that it's important for COI to define really the measure of success. What is it that they are trying to do, right? And I've heard many different things, right? And I think, you know, in some ways, these can also be contradictory. So for example, one thing I heard as well, you know, the objective is to create standards, right? Create 1M2m is the standard to kind of get adoption of 1M2m or whatever other standard. That's one objective. Another objective might be to create applications, right? I think Ms. Srivastav mentioned, you know, creating a suite of applications, solutions around 1M2m. Another thing is, you know, creating a startup ecosystem, right? So I think all these things are worthwhile objectives. You know, I would probably argue the second and the third may be more important in this stage. But I think it's important to clarify what is it that COI is going after, and prioritize that, and then in a single-minded fashion measure success against that, as opposed to have a kind of a plethora of you know, different objectives, and you know, if you don't accomplish one, maybe you accomplish a little bit of another. I think, you know, my advice is, you know, be bold, declare what you're trying to accomplish, and then go all out for it, and we will support you and try to make it happen. But don't try to do too much. Don't spread yourself too thin. That's my advice.
Yeah.
For whatever it's worth.
Yes. Thank you. And
Mr. Sushil Kumar, Dr. Manjunath has now enabled his mic. Can you please allow him to speak?
Okay. Yeah. Why not, Dr. Manjunath? If he has reconnected and we are able to listen to him, it will be our pleasure. Dr. Manjunath, we are not able to listen to you.
Oh, again his mic has gone.
Yeah. So now coming next to Ms. Pamela. Madam, whether 1M2M would be in a position to address the standardization gap, do you prepare any alternative thought process on M2M standards and adoption approach for Center of Innovation?
So as I kind of answered that earlier as well, and I would reinforce that I think the serious effort is in the pioneer there, and Cdot needs to take it to the next level, enabling deployment. So this Center of Innovation should allow them to build the partnerships with the startup ecosystem or anybody else, and they should be, I think, focused on deployments, because deployments is a very important right now. So whatever it takes to make standards-based deployments start happening in the country, I think should be their focus.
Okay, so your advice is
audible? I can't see anything.
We are not able to see the video of the panelist.
But you are all audible.
Yeah,
you're
all are
audible.
audible. Yeah. So, madam, your advice is valuable. Even the advice from all the panelists is quite valuable for the development of the Center of Innovation. So, next one is the Mr. Umakant Soni. Mr. Soni, IoT that is having a significant role in robotics and future services. How do you think that Art Park can engage with COI, and what is your suggestion for the further development of the COI?
Absolutely. I think the way I see it, and I understand that standards are one fundamental part of this debate, but so is the whole innovation ecosystem. And I remember we had invested in one of the companies, and which was actually creating, the IoT-based solutions. It's a company called Zenetics, and we exited out of that company because we realized that we need to actually have an innovation ecosystem to support such companies, which consists of, we need to actually have soft loans for them, because they are competing with things which were dumped from China, and it was hard for them because they were not able to access cash flow. All the hardware companies require cash flow situations as well. So where I think something like Art Park, where we could actually be of help, where we are thinking about creating India-specific innovations, innovations that will thrive in India. It's a very young ecosystem, and what I see is that if you talk about India is not just living in cities; it's living in Bharat. And if you look at from that perspective, whether I heard Professor from IIT Delhi talk about the innovations, right, in terms of cattle management, in terms of anything where we're looking at these intelligent devices that could be maybe connecting humans to those workflows, or it could be workflows in themselves. We are talking about computing and communications coming together on the edge around these sensors and IoT devices. Now, if we are envisioning a future like that, for us to have India to have a play in that, we need to create not just innovations which would in form of academic research, but translate that research into actual products and companies, because then only they will get used, and then only they can create impact. So the whole conversion into product and companies, that is where we would be very happy to collaborate and support in whatever way we can, and play a role in success of the Center of Innovation.
Yeah, thank you. And some of the startups I know because they were associated with TEC, working in aquaculture, agriculture, and the animal husbandry. So if you people are interested, we can connect you with them. And sensor-based devices for soil testing, some of the startups based at Bangalore, they are developing it. In aquaculture, the startups in Chennai, in Calcutta, they are working, some are working in animal husbandry. So we can develop all these verticals by helping them. So next is...
Can you hear me? This is Manjunath.
Yeah, we are able to hear you, madam. Yeah, please.
Yeah, thank you very much. I switched out another laptop for whatever the reason. So I will speak for both the innings simultaneously. I will take some 2-3 minutes. Okay. So I strongly bet for cognitive IoTs, because that will be the order of the day in future. And if the center will be able to support some projects in this, that will be very helpful. I was also looking into how the CCSP layer will be able to help such the cognitive IoTs. Because when I say cognitive IoTs, it is not analytics using artificial intelligence. The AI is fused into the IoT itself. The way the data is acquired by the IoT, the way it is processed by the IoT in place, all these things will determine the characteristics of a cognitive IoT. So moving forward, if such projects are supported, that is one thing, it will be helpful. The second thing is, this project should not be seen in isolation. So although the focus is on IoTs, it is always good to look into the entire solution. For example, the data acquired by an IoT can vary depending on the availability of our option for processing in place. Means some data acquired by the IoTs can be processed on the premises of the device itself, and the processed data may be transferred to the cloud or the edge or whatever it may be for further processing. So that will give a lot of opportunities for us. For example, it will reduce the required bandwidth for the data transfer, right? So the process data may come in various formats. So this CCSP layer will be very helpful in supporting these interoperable things, because we don't know from the same device itself, the data may come in different formats at different points of time. We don't in an unpredictable way. If the device is able to process in a better way, it will give less data outside, right? That is the way. So as the other speakers were pointing out, it gives a lot of revenue opportunities for us if we are able to switch over to the AIoTs or cognitive IoTs. That's where the other nations are also making a lot of profit. Yeah, I strongly agree with that. So to make such projects feasible and to do such experiments, the CCSP layer, as I saw it, technically it is very helpful. It forms, because it supports data coming in any format at any point of time. That's what we really need. That's the need of the hour.
Yeah, thank you. And what's your opinion and advice for the development of the Center of Innovation? In one line, if you can mention something.
Yeah, it should be a collaborative effort. Collaboration is at the solution level. IoT is the focus, of course. We may have to collaborate with, say, 5G, for example, like how these IoTs work in 5G, or it may be in the existing 3G or 4G. Their characteristics will be different. That's why when you collaborate, then only will come to know our shortcomings and other things. So a lot of focus has to be given even for the hardware.
Thank you, madam. Thank you. So now moving to our next expert, Mr. Prasad Rajaraman. Mr. Prasad, what is your experience in M2m IoT deployment in smart cities? Any comments and suggestions on protecting the investment made in devices? And moreover, if you can mention whether the secure onboarding of the devices is done on the IoT platforms or especially in the smart cities. What is your comments on that? Mr. Prasad, hello. Mr. Prasad is there. We are not able to listen to you. Ms. Aman can see if he is disconnected or he is available.
Sir, we are just trying to see whether Mr. Prasad is connected. Sir, Mr. Prasad is connected.
Okay, we are not able to.
Mr. Prasad may please speak by unmuting himself. Mr. Prasad, can you hear me? Can you please unmute yourself and start speaking? And you may also upload your video. Mr. Prasad, are you there?
Ms. Aman, you can take Mr. Prasad on mobile. Please speak to him and try to get him connected.
Yeah, we're just trying to connect with Mr. Prasad.
Yeah, we can move to our next expert. Mr. Bhushan Sethi is connected or he's not?
Sir, Mr. Bhushan Sethi is not connected.
Okay, right.
Bhushan Sethi is not connected.
Yeah, so we have spoken to Dr. Manjunath here, and Madam, you have to say something more about the development of Center of Innovation at Cdot. Your expert comment on this.
Yeah, I given in the sense the important thing is we may have to.
Not getting your voice now.
I think he has a poor connection maybe because it keeps on. Nice, but Dr. Manjunath, please continue.
Yeah, Hello, am I audible now?
Yes, Dr. Manjunath, we can hear
thank
you. Please continue,
Thank you,
sir.
thank you. So my piece of advice is we may have to look into the hardware part of it also, because that is one of our weak points where we have to develop a lot in the IoT hardware part of it. The cognitive part to an extent compensates for our shortcomings. That's what I can put it. Because
I think Cdot should try to develop the innovative ideas from the startups and others from device to the applications, including communication technology as well as the platforms. There is a lot of scope in all these things. Yeah. So now moving to our next expert, Dr. Subrat Kar, Professor IIT Delhi. So
can you hear me?
Yeah, we are able to listen to you. Yeah, thank you. Now the voice is very clear. No doubt there is a lot of activities in IoT are going and in progress in IIT Delhi. So how do you suggest that IoT engagement across academic institutes can be aggregated for collaboration through Center of Innovation? And your expert view, how to further develop this Center of Innovation in Cdot?
I think if you have a cell, a Cdot cell in academia, I won't say IIT Delhi, but academia in general, you would be able to propose initial ideas much faster, and they would not need significant funding. That's number one. Number two is what Bill Clinton used to use in his campaign. He said, lead or get out of the way. So these are the two very important things. Either lead or get out of the way. Don't stand in the way of somebody who is going ahead. I think that's very important to realize this is not Cdot's cup of tea, but it merits funding. Let us get out of the way. Let this man go ahead without us and do something on his own.
No doubt, funding is a big issue, and
not just funding. You can kill a man by saying bad things about the project. We all have that power. And in my profession, I'm very conscious of that power. I can kill students with a sentence. So I open my mouth very rarely.
So your opinion is that we should have more and more venture capitalists to finance the startups?
No, be very generous. Be very generous. Be very forgiving.
Okay.
At that stage, people need a lot of forgiveness. They do not need jibes.
Yeah.
They do not need sarcasm.
Yes, that's really very much required. Yeah. So any other views from your
thank
side?
You. Can I just, because my line got cut in between. So you were asking something, but I was not able to answer that because I was not able to unmute myself.
Not your voice is again muffled.
You should turn off your video maybe and then speak when your voice will be heard. Your bandwidth issue could be there. See, your voice is cracking, so better turn off your video and you just convey your views through audio, because your voice is cracking.
Understood. I'm just trying to turn off the video, but meanwhile, I am really fully in favor of what Cdot is doing as far as the COI is concerned. I think without any doubts or any kind of apprehensions, Cdot should move forward in this agenda, which was enumerated by Srivastava Madam before we began the panel discussion. And I'm fully confident that every agenda that you have outlined will be 100% reached if we follow the same path. And it's a wonderful initiative. Thank you so much.
Okay, and your expert opinion for the development of COI?
That's what as far as I understood from today's presentation. Okay, I don't feel that anything is wrong with the ideas and the ideals that you have set yourselves for, except that you are going to prevent a lot of corporate narcissism, which is the need of the hour. And data responsible data democratization has happened before. For example, if we just go to the Indian, we just give a search on Google about Indian Railways, we find many apps which are giving us ticket booking facility. It is not only IRCTC app. Similarly, when we go for airlines, okay, there is Make My Trip. There is so many apps which give us access to so many airlines. So democratization of data is a successful activity, and it is required for a democracy as such to sustain. And monopolization will always create problems, and therefore Cdot is right on dot as far as this movement is concerned for India and for the world. So I wish Cdot all the best. And as far as the center of innovation is concerned, from an entrepreneur's perspective, you have given me everything, just like a Kamadhenu or a Kalpavriksha. So be fully focused on it, sir. All our best wishes.
Yeah.
And God.
Okay. Thank you. And I hope all the experts, not only of this panel, but across the country and across the globe, they will be giving their expert advice to Cdot. Cdot is having a lot of connect, but because Cdot is participating in various international organizations and has given a lot of input in the development of international standards. So I'm really thankful to all the panelists of this panel, the experts for joining this panel and giving their expert advice on this, and also the participants for attending this webinar. Okay, thank you. Over to Cdot.
Thank you, sir. We thank our session chair and other esteemed members of the panel for taking us through multiple dimensions of IoT M2M firmament, with key focus on various issues and challenges, and highlighting the role of Center of Innovation in strengthening the evolution of standards-based indigenous M2M IoT ecosystem. Thank you, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, I would now like to request Shri Daniel Jebaraj, Director Cdot, for the vote of thanks.
Yes, am I audible?
Yes, sir, you are
I'm
audible.
Just checking.
Yeah, yes, sir, you are audible.
Okay. Okay. So, respected member services, DCC Shri Nizamul Haq ji, respected member technology DCC Shri K Tiwari ji, distinguished dignitaries, delegates, speakers, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of the organizing committee, I deem it a great honor and privilege to propose a vote of thanks on this webinar event to mark the observance of World Telecommunication and Information Society Day 2022. At the outset, I extend my warm gratitude to our honorable guests for this evening, Shri Nizamul Haq, Member Services, and Shri K Tiwari, Member Technology, for their august presence by taking time out from their busy schedule to grace this event. Our sincere thanks to Shri Nizamul Haq ji for the special address. Thank you, sir, for the inspiring and encouraging us with your words on this special event. At the same token, we are extremely thankful to Shri K Tiwari ji for his thought-provoking keynote address. Thank you, sir, for your stimulating speech, highlighting the need for aligning with unified one M2M IoT standards to take maximum benefit out of these IoT deployments in India. And next, I extend my sincere thanks to all the eminent panelists and speakers in the panel discussion, as chaired by and moderated by Mr. Sushil Kumar ji, DDG IoT TEC, and other panelists, Professor Dr. Inder Gopal from IIC Bangalore, Ms. Pamela Kumar, DG TSDSI, Mr. Umakant Soni, co-founder and CEO ArtPark, Mr. Prasad Parasraman, CEO Pyrax ICT, Dr. Manjunath Iyer, CTO Wipro, Professor Dr. Subrat Kaur from IIT Delhi, for bringing their rich experience and expertise around the table, engaging in such a fruitful and constructive open exchanges throughout the session. I thank our Executive Director and Chairman of Cdot, Dr. Rajkumar Upadhyay, for being the brain behind this initiative to develop a robust generic middleware framework with all necessary underlying common services to deploy a secure one-to-one M2m compliant solution. And I also thank him for welcoming the guests and delegates at the inaugural address. I also thank Ms. Shika Srivatsava, Director Cdot, for her brief and excellent overview on the activities of the Center of Innovation for M2m IoT Solutions of Cdot in the initiative of realizing the vision Atmanirbhar Bharat of our country. I also extend my heartfelt gratitude to all the delegates and guests of this webinar program for participating till the end to grace this event. To wrap it here, lastly but not the least, I extend my warm thanks to the organizing committee members and volunteers for working hard behind the scenes for the past few days to make this event a grand success. Have a nice rest of the evening. Dhanyavad and Jai Hind.
Thank you, sir. We hereby close this World Telecommunication and Information Society Day webinar and extend our warm greetings and gratitude to all our esteemed guests and dignitaries and participants. We also thank our organizing committee for organizing this webinar and conducting in such a smooth manner. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you very
Thank you
much.
everyone for joining in.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.